right, so real quick on DeMar DeRozan. There are trade rumors around Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, the two star wing players for the Chicago Bulls. And I'm interested. Like, I do think some teams, like I just saw today, Sacramento is kind of in the conversation for Zach LaVine. Apparently, there's a report out there that LaVine wouldn't mind going to Sacramento if he was traded. I would kind of like that for him. But the three teams that have really come up the most for LaVine and DeRozan, and I want to talk about LaVine. I won't talk about LaVine as much. This is really about DeRozan. It's just the fact that they're teammates and they're in similar situations, I think, as, you know, really good wing players that could help a better team right now. So like the Lakers, Knicks, and Heat have been linked to DeRozan and to Zach LaVine. But again, I want to focus on DeRozan. Years ago, I wrote an article back when I was like writing more articles on the website. I wrote an article about DeMar DeRozan, and I said, you know, as talented, he was on Toronto at the time with Kyle Lowry, and going through like the struggle of trying to go up against LeBron every year in the Eastern Conference. And I had this take that I just felt like DeMar DeRozan, I kind of compared it to Andre Iguodala. All right. So like DeMar DeRozan has put himself in a position to be like one of the top shooting guards in the league, right? You know, during this era, super talented, great scorer, has been able to evolve, has become, you know, one of the top tier mid-range scorers in the league, excellent two-way player. But we've put DeMar DeRozan kind of, and he's played his way into becoming an elite shooting guard in this league. You know, in those years in Toronto with Kyle Lowry, I started to look at Andre Iguodala's situation with the Warriors. If you remember, Andre Iguodala, you know, after the Iverson era, you know, in Philly, like people were trying to make Iggy like, you know, an alpha player, like, and he was that for Philly for some time. But when you look, like Iggy was always super talented, right? Not unlike DeMar DeRozan, very similar, you know, talented wing player, great athlete, great two-way player. And everyone loved Iggy and his abilities and his talent, but he would start to get flack and a knock when he couldn't like lead the Sixers and be an alpha level player like Iverson was, right? He kind of took up that mantle in a way, but he was never that type of player. Very strong player, very gifted, talented player, could do so many things well, but not that kind of player. And it wasn't until Iggy got to the Warriors where he's the, you know, fifth or sixth best player, but still playing a pivotal role, right? Just the perfect glue guy, because, you know, he's been around, he can score, good playmaker, good athlete, good two-way player. So he fits onto a team that, of course, the Warriors had a super team, stint when they got KD. They debate if they were a super team before they got KD or not. But like, you know, in that role with, you know, alongside Steph, Clay, Draymond, Iggy got to kind of be a floater, kind of like how Andrew Wiggins got to be when he got to the Warriors, you know, like similar kind of opportunity. I even think of the game in the finals when Iggy was calling Wiggins over to the bench, like, hey man, this is how like, you know, showing him the ropes of like how to be that kind of player. Wiggins, similar thing. Wiggins was a 20+ point per game guy in Minnesota, you know, gets to the Warriors. You figure he'll still have opportunities, but he's got to fit into a system more. And for Iggy, I felt like that was more natural because Iggy can be a point guard. He's such a special like type of player, playmaker, defender. And you got to see that on display, even in a minimized role, especially in a minimized role on the Warriors, as opposed to best player on the team role, in Philly. So with DeRozan, right? Like I would love to see DeRozan in a role. Like we have so much talent in the league. There's so much talent in the NBA. Like I would love to see a talented guy like DeRozan get a chance to be on not just a super team, but like on a team that's a real title contender where he doesn't have to be the alpha guy, the best player all the time. So my take right now, like I'm looking at the teams that are up for, you know, a trade that could go for DeRozan. I'm wondering why the New York Knicks, like, why not go for DeMar DeRozan? Why not trade a couple of your guards? Fans aren't crazy about RJ Barrett anyway. Are you like, I just feel like DeMar DeRozan next to Jalen Brunson, like that backcourt. Like I feel like DeRozan is an upgrade. I mean, you've got several guards. You could probably keep like one or two of your young guards. Maybe you have to give up Quickly or Grimes, like one of those two. Barrett, DiVincenzo, like you've got multiple guards. You're probably going to still have a couple. But I'm just like, isn't a Jalen Brunson, DeMar DeRozan, wouldn't that backcourt like be an upgrade from what you have right now? And I really like what the Knicks have right now. I'm not totally against them holding out for a superstar. Like I don't know if Joel Embiid is realistic. I don't really know who would be realistic for them in the next few years. But as far as like a win now mentality, like the Knicks are super competitive. They're a playoff team. They won their first playoff series in over a decade last season. They're in a great spot. They have assets. They have good players. I have them as a competitive thorn on my NBA spectrum, which you can listen to and watch on the podcast. Jalen Brunson was a great get for them. And I kept saying that. I'm like, listen, he's not Donovan Mitchell, but listen, you got yourselves a high level star point guard that's tough and that's going to bring everything that you need, that you would want in a New York Knicks point guard. I said that once they were able to pick him up. Listen, Randall is good. Barrett is good. You've got other good players, but I think DeMar DeRozan is a little more elevated. You don't bring him in to be like the savior, to be like the best guy. But the combination of Brunson and DeRozan, I think that's a serious backcourt. You guys got Josh Hart. You got all these guards, right? Why not do a package for a couple of those guards, maybe a draft pick, I don't know, but go get DeMar DeRozan. Like, why not? I'm not saying that's going to make you a contender right away. I think that makes the Knicks better. And the Knicks are pretty good right now. I think that could take the Knicks from pretty good to maybe looking really good. Think about it. I'd like the idea, the look of a Jalen Brunson, DeMar DeRozan backcourt on the Knicks. Jalen Brunson is lights out from three right now. So you can't tell me that they're both mid-range killers. I know Brunson's a post-up guy. So is DeRozan. They both do damage in the mid-range, but Brunson is shooting the three right now. DeRozan can hit threes too. He just doesn't really shoot them. But Brunson is spacing the floor right now. He's scoring from all over. So he's dynamite. I think a DeMar DeRozan right now, because he's still close to the height of his powers. I think you could still get a really great version of DeMar DeRozan right now in the backcourt with Jalen Brunson. I think that experience, that ability combined, I think that would bode well for the Knicks right now. To me, I don't know. I say why not? I think that I would go for that if I was the Knicks. I would look to make a deal for DeMar DeRozan. I think it makes them a little bit better, and that says something because they're pretty good right now.